Welcome to Storytime. Subscribe for more stories. The Island of Whispering Lights. Before the ferry only crossed once a month. Before people warned each other to stay away from the lake after dark. There was an island. Small, beautiful, covered in soft moss and pale silver trees that sparkled when the moonlight touched them. Locals used to go there for picnics and fishing trips. Kids would skip stones along the shore. Couples carved their initials in the bark. And they always said the same thing when they returned. We saw lights, like tiny stars floating above the water. They didn't feel afraid then. Not yet. Because at first the lights seemed friendly. They drifted close. They circled gently. They twinkled like fireflies, but moved like they were thinking. People called them lake fairies. They laughed about it. They made wishes. They followed them. And that was the mistake. The last trip before everything changed. The captain was much younger back then. He didn't avoid the lake. He didn't whisper prayers under his breath. He ferried people back and forth all day. One evening, just before sunset, a group of 5 friends begged him, "Just one more trip. We want to see the fairies at night." He hesitated not because he believed in legends, but because the fog was forming early. Still, he agreed. The water was calm. The island glowed faintly in the fading light. By the time they arrived, the sky was deep blue and the first stars were out. And then the lights appeared. Not one, not 2. Dozens. Floating low over the trees, drifting close to shore, shimmering like crystal wings made of moonlight. The friends were amazed. One girl reached out her hand. A light hovered above her palm. For a moment, it looked exactly like a fairy. Delicate, graceful, smiling without a mouth. Then it moved closer to her ear. And whispered. Her expression changed. Not frightened, just distant. Calm. As if she suddenly understood something the others didn't. She smiled softly and walked deeper into the trees. "Hey, wait," the others called. She didn't turn around. More lights descended, circling the others, whispering gently, patiently. Each one spoke differently, like it knew exactly what each person wanted to hear. "You can rest here. You don't have to hurry. Nothing hurts on the island." The captain called out from the shore. "Don't wander off." But his voice sounded small compared to the soft, welcoming whispers. One by one, the friends followed. Not running, not scared. Just drifting further, as if being guided. The captain tied up the boat and stepped onto the sand. He didn't go far, just enough to see where the lights were leading. That's when he noticed something strange. The trees around the center of the island looked different. Not older. Hollow. Like they'd been carved into shapes that looked like people curled into the wood. Faces frozen mid-dream. Arms reaching outward as if they had been stretching towards something when they fell asleep. The captain called their names louder now. No answer. Only the soft chiming of the lights. He saw one of the fairies flicker, and for a split second, it wasn't beautiful. It was empty. A hollow glow stretched around nothing like skin over something that wasn't really there. Not alive, not dead, just borrowing a shape. Then it shimmered again and turned lovely. One of the friends finally appeared between the trees. He looked peaceful, too peaceful. "Come sit," he said quietly. "You'll feel lighter." The captain took one step closer. The ground felt soft, not like moss. More like wet roots wrapping upward. He backed away. "Time to go," he said firmly. The lights dimmed. The whispers changed. They didn't sound kind anymore. They sounded disappointed. almost annoyed. The friends didn't move. They just stared dreamily ahead, each bathed in their own faint glow. The captain did something he never liked to talk about afterward. He grabbed them. He dragged them, one by one, toward the boat, while the lights swirled angrily, flickering brighter, whispering faster, not screams, not threats, just endless promises. Stay, rest, we'll remember you. By the time he forced the last one into the ferry, the island didn't look beautiful anymore. It looked hungry. The lights hovered at the shoreline, unwilling to cross the water, pulsing softly like watchful eyes. The friends didn't speak the entire ride home. The next day, they only remembered bits and pieces, like waking up from a dream they wished they could finish. But the captain remembered everything. And from that night on, he refused to take anyone to the island after dark. Over time, people stopped going completely. The lake changed. The fog came more often. And the lights were seen less and less, except sometimes, far away, where the trees were darkest. Years later, when people started talking about the eerie forest on the other side of the lake, the captain understood something he never told anyone. The forest didn't just grow on land. It learned from the island. And the fairies? They weren't magical guides. They were invitations. Quiet, patient, waiting for someone curious enough to follow again. Sometimes, on rare nights, the captain still sees them faint glows drifting above the water. And he looks away, because if you stare too long, they notice. After that night on the island, the captain stopped talking about the fairy lights. People noticed he only crossed the lake when he absolutely had to. And over time, fewer travelers returned from the far side. The island wasn't the last warning. It was the first sign that the lake and everything around it was learning, watching, and waiting. And eventually, the captain discovered a place far more dangerous than the island. A place everyone started calling the Eerie Forest.